We often imagine the beginning of our world as a quiet act of creation in a silent void. It's a comforting image. But the true story of Earth is woven from colossal energy and massive transformations. In those times, when the cosmos was still taking shape, the young planet passed through the crucible of great changes. What might have seemed like destruction was in fact a birth. The solid ground became an ocean of molten light, and the surrounding space filled with a cradle of incandescent matter, governed only by the rhythm of gravity. It was in this majestic movement that the moon, our eternal companion and silent guardian of Earth's tranquility, emerged. An event that reshaped the planet, giving it structure and equilibrium. From primordial chaos, order began to emerge. The measured rhythm of the tides arose, the axial tilt stabilized, and the very breath of time began to resonate. Fire, stone, and the subsequent silence became the foundation of our home, confirming that new life often begins where an old cycle ends. In the very beginning, there was an absolute absence of echo, a silence impossible to find in earthly nature. Then, in an imperceptible moment, space and time began their gentle expansion, like the first deep breath of a newborn world. The void gained density. In this majestic movement, where primordial energy created the very fabric of reality, the foundations of all existence were forged: hydrogen and helium, light and shadow. These simple atoms became the first letters in the endless chronicle of the cosmos. We call this event a beginning, but it was an awakening, a moment when the universe first found its scale. From the primary dance of gases, matter was slowly woven, transforming the silent abyss into a cradle for future stars. Was this order predetermined, or did it arise from silence as a natural striving for harmony? Ancient stars became the cradles of life. Within their shining depths, protected by unimaginable pressure, the mystery of transformation took place. Simplicity became diversity. These first luminaries were alchemical workshops, where the foundations of the future were forged from light gas, carbon, oxygen, and iron. When their internal cycle approached its end, the moment of great transformation arrived. Stars did not vanish without a trace. They gave themselves to the cosmos, scattering their accumulated riches into space. This process became the first breath of matter. Stardust, carrying the memory of ancient chaos, rushed into the icy void, destined to become part of new worlds eons later. Every speck of silicon in the mountains, every atom in our bodies, these are echoes of those distant events. Thus, the completion of one path became an instrument of creation, and the vacuum filled with the seeds of the future. The cosmos seemed to know from the very beginning that for solid ground to be born, it had to pass through cycles of transformation. In the deep twilight of space lay a cloud of frozen gas and ancient dust. Darkness, cold, and absolute stillness. This stillness seemed eternal, until an invisible wave from a distant event touched the edge of the nebula. Gravity awoke gently, yet surely. It began to gather the scattered matter into a warm embrace, forcing chaos to submit to a single center, where something magnificent was being born within the vast cloud. Space began a slow rotation. At the very heart of this process, a young sun shone, illuminating the system with its first soft light. Darkness receded. Around the blazing center, like ripples on calm water, a disk of gas and stone spread out. This was a time of great simplification. From the formless mist, clear lines emerged, and from movement, the perfect geometry of future orbits. Order definitively triumphed over the void. The dawn of our system arrived. It all began with a barely perceptible movement. In the dense fog of the newborn system, tiny dust particles, shadows of past stellar grandeur, began to seek each other out. This was not a struggle, just accidental touches in an endless swirl, where the gentleness of collisions wove the first threads of the future. The small grew into something grand. From weightless flakes, tiny grains emerged. From these grains, stones formed, which in their slow dance no longer disintegrated, but merged in a single impulse. Creation became the primary law. For millions of years, the cosmos patiently watched this painstaking assembly until gravity revealed its full power. It transformed timid attraction into a confident flow, forcing matter to condense and grow until the outlines of the first planets emerged from the mist. Dust, stone, a world. An important truth is hidden within this majestic process. To take shape, one must go through many encounters and mergers. The young Earth gradually found its inner peace. Inside its fiery sphere, a great alchemy began. The moment the planet acquired its structure and heart, heavy metals, drawn by gravity's call, began a slow descent to the center, carving a path through the mass of matter. Thus, the core was born. It was a movement into the depths, creating a foundation for everything that would appear later. While the metals descended, lighter rocks, like foam, rose to the surface, forming the mantle and the fragile crust. Order was born from heat. In this titanic distribution of density, something more than just layers of rock emerged. The beating of its iron heart gave rise to an invisible shield, a magnetic field, which became the first protector of our home from cosmic winds. Earth learned harmony, separating heaviness from lightness and fire from stone. A time of silence came, behind which lay hidden a great power. The moon is not just a silent guardian, but an eternal reminder of the unity of our world. When Earth was still young, Theia, a planet whose fate intertwined with ours, appeared from the depths of space. Their convergence was inevitable. During their encounter, a portion of Earth's matter was ejected into space, forming a shimmering ring of rock and vapor around the planet. Chaos and light momentarily filled the orbit. But it was precisely in this event that creation was hidden. Gravity, like a patient craftsman, gathered these fragments into a single whole. Thus, our satellite was born, finding peace in orbit from a wounded yet living home. Earth shared its matter so that it would never again be alone in the endless night. This connection became the guarantee of a future rhythm, in which life would one day find its footing. Chaos acquired a measured breath. Without its silver satellite, Earth would resemble a top, spinning erratically in the void, a planet doomed to drastic changes and an unpredictable climate. But the moon, hanging then in the sky as a huge disk, extended the invisible hands of gravity towards us. It calmed the tremor of Earth's axis, transforming chaotic rotation into a calm, deep rhythm. Gravity became an anchor. Thanks to this alliance of worlds, our cradle found balance, and with it, the grand symphony of seasons, flourishing, maturity, and rest. Now, sunlight was distributed wisely, allowing the first sparks of life to follow an eternal cycle. In this celestial ballet, the moon acted as a wise teacher. It taught Earth to hold steady, giving us the luxury of predictable springs and the majestic silence of winters. Thus, the energy of collision transformed into creative discipline. Earth gradually cooled. Liquid rock, once raging on the surface, began to solidify beneath a dense, suffocating sky. A thick shroud of nitrogen and carbon dioxide hung over the world, a protective cocoon in which the future matured. We are used to considering air a transparent gift, but then it was a dense veil, holding in the heat. This atmosphere acted like a massive blanket, preventing the internal heat from instantly dissipating into the icy void. It held back the cooling, transforming the harsh cold into a slow, majestic descent towards moderation. In this twilight, the planet tamed its fervor, exchanging the fury of its depths for the possibility of the first rain. The sky acquired a long-awaited heaviness. The incandescent steam, which had enveloped the planet for centuries, finally found purchase in the cooling stone. This was no ordinary downpour. It was a grand descent of water, lasting millennia. Drop by drop, stream by stream, the sky literally returned its moisture to the earth, washing ash from the basalt plains and transforming chaos into ordered motion. Stone, water, time. In this measured murmur, the first true rhythm of our world was born. Streams gathered in the lowlands of the Earth's crust, forming the first oceans. Those waters knew no azure. They were dark and rich with minerals, like a concentrated infusion of the young planet. The Earth learned to retain moisture, transforming the power of steam into the still surface of a primeval sea. Thus, the energy of fire finally gave way to the silence of the deep, and in that salty darkness, the anticipation of something impossible lay dormant. Was this water a chance visitor, or had it always been part of our destiny? The cosmos continued its involvement in the planet's fate. During the late heavy bombardment, Earth received impacts that became gifts. This was a period when every fiery streak in the sky carried a secret promise. Through the clouds, icy comets and rocky fragments fell to the surface, delivering to the planet the elemental alphabet of existence: carbon, nitrogen, and complex molecules born in distant stellar cradles. The young crust absorbed these elements, transforming cosmic dust into building material for life. The planet didn't just endure impacts, it transformed them, making the scars a foundation for the coming miracle: stone, light, time. In this cycle, Earth learned an important lesson. Sometimes, to create something eternal, you must allow the external world to complement your internal order. The world found a fragile balance. After an era of turbulent changes, Earth learned to breathe in unison with its depths. The sky poured down rains, and each drop, touching the stone, took away the excess weight of the atmosphere, safely hiding it in the silence of the ocean depths. But the planet did not freeze. From the depths, through cracks in the crust, volcanoes returned heat, maintaining the balance. Fire, water, and stone intertwined in a cycle that allowed water to remain liquid. Thus, the Earth wove its first defense, preventing the oceans from evaporating and keeping them from being locked in eternal ice. What was the true purpose of this elemental accord? Life was seeking its first cradle. There, in the eternal twilight of abyssal trenches, the planet's internal heat seeped through the crust, transforming icy water into a rich solution of metals and the ancient memory of stone. These vents became the first altars, where chemistry slowly evolved into biology. The cosmos dictated the rhythm. The moon tirelessly moved masses of water, causing the ocean to wash over shores and mix the elements of the future. In this slow dance, where the abyssal heat met the coolness of the surf, matter learned complexity, preparing for its most significant leap. For life to begin, it needed a home, a boundary separating order from chaos. At the interface of heat and cold, the greatest division occurred. Tiny molecules, drawn by attraction, began to form rings, creating the first barrier between inside and outside. It was a thin, trembling film, a fragile shield. Inside this microscopic refuge, the primeval storm subsided, allowing complex elements to conduct their quiet conversation. Land gave way to water, heat to coolness, and in this pulsating rhythm, matter learned to keep its secrets. Thus arose the first cradle, separating a drop of life from the boundless ocean of entropy. Why did the universe need this seclusion? Time was taking shape. In the silence of the waters, long chains of molecules began to replicate themselves, creating a reflection in the ocean's mirror. It was a grand apprenticeship. Links connected and regained their integrity, striving for continuation through replication. Errors in this slow process became not an obstacle, but an opportunity. Where one structure proved too fragile, another, slightly more resilient, found a way to cling to the edge of oblivion. Thus, the first competition without spectators was born. Gradually, the movement of atoms transformed into a rhythmic dance of survival, and matter crossed the threshold beyond which the long saga of life begins. For millions of years, life fed solely on the planet's internal heat, until one day it turned its gaze skyward. Light became sustenance. It was the greatest alchemical act, the transformation of a sunbeam into building material. But this gift came at the cost of the entire planet's transformation. Life learned to release oxygen. It didn't immediately fill the skies. First, it had to tame the ancient fury of the oceans. Just as metal yields to time, iron dissolved in water began to settle on the seabed in crimson layers, painting the planet in deep red hues. It was a time of great purification, when Earth literally changed its blood. Light, iron, and oxygen, in a slow dance, forged a world capable of one day taking its first pure breath. The sky wove an invisible shield, High above the crust, oxygen molecules intertwined into a protective veil, a guardian meant to tame the solar wind. Until this moment, the light was too harsh. But now the celestial filter transformed radiation into life-giving warmth. Chaos became order, and life's byproduct turned into its protection. Cells felt a surge of new power. Oxygen bestowed upon them energy, allowing complex forms to emerge from the shadows of the depths to meet the first true dawn. Now, every impulse obeyed a new rhythm of creation beneath the transparent armor of the air. For a long time, life remained confined within the boundaries of a single cell, knowing no other path than self-replication. But then came the moment of the Great Union. Two tiny wanderers did not consume each other, but instead offered to share a common destiny. It was the first pact forged in the silence of the waters. Energy and will merged into a single pulsation. Thus, cooperation was born. Cells began to assemble into a constellation, where each had its own unique role. While some preserved memory, others transformed light into power, and still others learned to sense the world's vibrations. Life ceased to be a mere point. It became a complex architecture of flesh and shared breath. Did this complexity become the ultimate gift of freedom, or a new form of deep connection for everything? The ocean long remained a space of peaceful drifting until a new thirst for interaction awakened in its depths. Life realized that a neighboring organism was not just a companion, but also a source of experience and energy. Thus arose the first complex relationships, transforming the ocean into an arena of eternal movement and refinement. This was the moment when biology found its true dynamism. Today, looking at the stars, we see not just distant lights, but the origins of our own story. We are the continuation of that very rhythm which began in silence and passed through fire, water, and light. Every breath we take is connected to the ancient oceans, and every atom within us remembers the heat of the first stars. We are the way the universe looks upon itself, realizing its long and magnificent journey from chaos to harmony. And in this silence of the night, we continue our dance, being part of an endless and beautiful order.